Before we begin, I want you to picture something clearly in your mind. Yes, you, the one listening right now. Imagine yourself standing outside the entrance of a grand and magnificent mosque. The sun has begun to set, and the soft golden light of evening spreads across the courtyard. Worshippers are slowly entering the mosque, their footsteps calm and purposeful, their hearts focused on one thing alone, standing before their creator. But suddenly, something unusual happens. A foreign woman approaches the gate of the mosque. She walks confidently, almost proudly, as if she believes she owns the moment. Her appearance is striking. Her beauty is undeniable. Every step she takes carries a sense of arrogance, a belief that the world bends around her presence. But listen carefully, because the reason she has come here is not what you might expect. She did not come to learn. She did not come seeking peace. She did not come to understand faith. No, she came with a challenge. Deep in her mind, she believed something dangerous. She believed that her beauty, her charm, and the power of her presence were strong enough to break the focus of hundreds of worshippers. She imagined that if she simply walked through the mosque courtyard, men would turn their heads, their attention would shift, their concentration in prayer would shatter. In her mind, she was about to prove a point. She believed that the devotion of these men was fragile, that their faith could be shaken by nothing more than the presence of a beautiful woman. But what she did not understand, what she could not possibly understand, was the place she was about to enter. This was not a party. This was not a crowded street. This was not a gathering where people compete for attention or chase after beauty. This was a mosque, a sacred place where human beings leave the entire world behind them the moment they step into prayer. Inside that mosque, something completely different was about to happen. And if you had been standing there watching, you would have seen it clearly. As the woman stood at the entrance, the call to prayer had already ended. Worshippers were forming rows inside the mosque. One line after another, shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot, they stood in quiet discipline. From above, those rows would look like solid walls, perfectly straight and unbroken. This is something many people do not realize. When Muslims stand for prayer, they are not just standing casually, they are entering a state of deep spiritual focus. The moment a worshipper raises his hands and says the opening words of prayer, something changes inside him. In that moment, the world fades away. The noise of life disappears. Wealth, status, beauty, fear, and desire. All of it is left behind. The worshipper is now standing before Allah. And that connection, that moment between the human heart and its creator, is stronger than anything this world can offer. But the woman did not know this. She stood there with confidence, believing she was about to prove that the devotion of these people was weak. Slowly, she stepped forward and entered the mosque courtyard. Her footsteps echoed softly across the marble floor. Inside, the prayer had begun. Hundreds of men stood in silence, their hands folded, their eyes lowered, their hearts focused. Now imagine this moment. The woman begins walking past the rows of worshippers. In her mind, she expects something to happen. She expects heads to turn. She expects eyes to follow her. She expects whispers, distraction, maybe even confusion. But something strange happens. Nothing. Not a single head turns. Not one person looks up. The rows remain firm and unmoving. Their eyes remain fixed on the place of prostration. Their hearts remained connected to the heavens. If you had been standing beside her, you would have noticed the confusion slowly appearing on her face. She walks further. Still nothing. Another step. Still nothing. Hundreds of worshippers stand there completely undisturbed. It is as if she does not even exist. And suddenly she realizes something she never expected. She had completely misunderstood the situation. Because inside a mosque during prayer, the battle taking place is not between people. It is a battle within the human soul. Each worshipper is fighting a silent war against distraction, temptation, and the whispers of the ego. The discipline of prayer is not just about standing or bowing. It is about training the heart to ignore everything except the presence of God. This is why the rows in prayer are so strict. Shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot. Perfect alignment. This unity creates strength. It removes gaps. It removes distraction. It creates a spiritual fortress that is incredibly difficult to break. And there is another reason why her plan failed so completely. Islam teaches something called lowering the gaze. For a Muslim, protecting the eyes is a form of protecting the heart. Looking intentionally at someone with desire, especially in a sacred place, is strongly discouraged. Muslims are taught from a young age to guard their eyes and control their attention. So even if one of the worshippers had noticed something unusual, his first reaction would not be curiosity. His first reaction would be to lower his gaze even further, to protect his prayer, to protect his heart, to seek forgiveness from God and continue focusing on worship. And that is exactly what happened. As the woman walked through the mosque, the worshippers continued their prayer as if nothing had happened. They bowed, they prostrated, they recited verses quietly. Their hearts remained calm. Their focus remained unbroken. For the first time since she arrived, the woman began to feel something she had not expected: embarrassment. She had walked into the mosque believing she held power. She believed her beauty could control attention. She believed she could disrupt the faith of these people. But instead, she found herself invisible, ignored, powerless. The strength she believed she possessed suddenly felt meaningless. And that realization struck her harder than any spoken words ever could. Because sometimes silence is the strongest answer. The worshippers never argued with her. They never confronted her. They never even looked at her. But their discipline, their calm, their unshakable focus delivered a message louder than anything else. It told her something important. When a heart is truly connected to God, the distractions of this world lose their power. Beauty loses its power. Ego loses its power. Temptation loses its power. And slowly, the confidence she had walked in with began to crumble. She had come expecting victory. Instead, she encountered something she had never experienced before. Spiritual strength, real strength, the kind of strength that comes from faith. She realized that the people standing in those rows were not weak or easily distracted. They were stronger than she had imagined. Stronger because they had learned to control themselves. Stronger because their hearts were focused on something greater than the world. Stronger because their faith had built walls inside them that temptation could not easily break. And that was the moment when the truth became impossible to ignore. Her challenge had failed. Completely. The rows of worshippers remained as strong as a solid wall. Their humility remained intact. Their discipline remained perfect. And her arrogance, the pride she carried with her, slowly collapsed. The challenge she had brought to the mosque did not break the faith of the worshippers. Instead, it broke something inside her. Because she finally understood something she had never understood before. True power does not come from beauty. True power does not come from attention. True power comes from self-control, humility, and faith. And when a heart truly submits to God, the distractions of the world become powerless. So now let me ask you something. If you had been standing there watching this moment unfold, what would you have learned from it? Because sometimes the greatest lessons in life are not taught through words. They are revealed through actions, through discipline, through faith, and through the quiet strength of people whose hearts belong to something greater than the world itself.